Hey everyone, it's Ashley. Welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited today to be using some Casual Friday stamps, and this video is a little different because this is a very non-technique video. So there's not specifically a technique to learn here, but I thought that I would share with you sort of what I do when I'm a little stumped for inspiration or what to create. So what I'll do first is pick out a color palette. So I'm using some Catherine Pooler inks here, and this is my color palette. And what I'm going to do is just stamp around this cardstock. And I feel like this is just such a good way to get some inspiration, bring in some color. If you don't really have a good idea of what you want to do or you don't have it thought out from start to finish, it can be really easy to not want to go in the craft room or sit at your table or desk and create something because you don't have a clear idea. And it's a little bit intimidating, but I think that just getting, stamp to ink and then on the paper can really help you see exactly what it is that you want to create and you want to do. Without a vision, it's a little bit hard, but you can help your vision sort of come to life by really just sitting down and crafting. You just have to get down and do it. So this is one of my favorite things to do if I'm feeling a little, like I said, a little lacking on inspiration. I just pick a stamp set that I really love and that I've really been wanting to use, and I will just go around, use my color palette that I've chosen, and stamp all around. This stamp set is particularly great for this type of non-technique, and I call this sloppy stamping because I have no idea what I'm doing, but these stamps complement each other perfectly. So this entire set goes together and you can create this beautiful garden of all these colors and all these flowers, and you can really make it your own. They also have these great stems and leaves that come off, and these two are the same exact stem, but they go in different directions. So one sort of swoops to the left and one to the right, and that's really great because you can create movement on your cardstock and your design with that. So as you can see, some of the flowers now look like they're swooping in from the right and some are swooping in from the left. And though it doesn't seem like it makes such a big deal, it really can once you try to fill in all the spaces and get the entire image to work together. Now, as you'll see throughout the video, I do speed it up quite a bit just because I don't want to bore you with the slow stamping. But just so you know, you can keep in mind that this did not happen in just a matter of 2 minutes. I sort of sat down, I had to start stamping, and I don't really plan, but as you start stamping, you realize where you need to continue stamping and sort of what looks best. So I realized quickly that this was going to be a patterned paper type of stamp. So what I needed to do is make sure that I stamped some off of the cardstock so that it didn't look perfectly stamped, because that's not what sloppy stamping is about. So what I made sure to do was bring some of these images and these florals in from off of the cardstock, and that way it just looks a little more organic and a little less planned, because it wasn't planned at all. But I did notice that I was leaving quite a big space of white there, sort of in the middle left part of the page. And so I thought immediately, you know what, let me keep that white so I can add a sentiment to it somehow. I wasn't quite sure how I was going to add it yet, but I realized that this was coming together and that part was just staying open for whatever reason. I just decided not to stamp it, but I wanted to keep it open so that I had it available for a sentiment. That was my first thought. I love this little stamp, by the way, that I'm stamping onto these flowers right now. It gives such like a whimsical but like beautiful feel to the card or to the stamps themselves, and I just used some different color ink with those the swirly stamp for the floral because I just want it to stand out a little bit more. To fill in some of the smaller white spaces, I'm using this tiny little flower solid stamp, and there is a fill-in stamp as well that comes with that, and they look like 4 hearts sort of meeting at the point. So I'm using that same Grape Crush color that I used earlier for the whimsical spiral stamp, and I'm putting that right in the center. I realize I need a little bit more coming in there because I don't want that big of a white space. And as I'm doing this, I'm realizing that it looks a little bit to me like a watercolor painting. So I'm going to take this black color from my watercolor palette, and I'm going to use my water brush or water pen and just easily take some and put it right here in my, this is just a plastic watercolor palette, and I'm going to spray some of this randomly onto the cardstock, which can be so scary, and if you wanted to skip that part, that's totally fine, but I happen to love that look. I dumped a whole lot of powder on my black cardstock on accident. It was almost like that, you know, the salt's not screwed in all the way type thing, but that's okay. I am going to emboss this, so I'm going to use Versamark ink with some white embossing powder, and this is sentiment that comes with this stamp set, and it says thinking of you. And I'm realizing now that I do want to put this right in that white space, but the white space is a bit too large for this small strip of sentiment. So I'm going to fill it in a little bit more with one more stamp, and I'm going to bring in that party dress color, the pink color that I used for the outside flowers, and then again the stem and that little spiral stamp one more time. And this leaves the white space, but it just covers it up a little bit more. But I'm glad that I left it open so that I could make that decision now rather than having to figure out a way later. So as I'm adhering this sentiment strip, I'm going to use Tombow Mono Multi Glue, and that's just so I can even it out. If you use double-sided tape or foam tape, it doesn't allow for very much movement if it's not perfect, so I like to use glue unless I need dimension, and then I'll use some foam tape. And finally, I'll just trim off the sides there where it's hanging off, and that's the completed card. I added some ivory gems there just to add some sparkle, but I love how this turned out. I had a lot of fun doing it, and it was super simple, and I think it turned out really beautifully. I hope that you have enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. All of the supplies used, my blog, Instagram, Pinterest, and the Casual Fridays blog are linked in the description. There's also an exclusive code for you to use on your next purchase from Casual Friday Stamps. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you very soon. Bye.